Welcome to Alfredo's Size 3 Taco Truck, a Marvel Crisis Protocol podcast, the only podcast with a regular release schedule. I'm Vincent Curkov.
I'm Pat Van Value.
I'm Nate Horn.
And I'm Alex Potts. And my co-host told me at the start of this that I was supposed to know what we're talking about. I don't know what we're talking about.
I sent you a list.
Yeah, okay, I'm looking at the list. So
Pick a thing.
Nate says, okay, so we shouldn't do the thing that's listed off-air discussion.
No,
So
probably not.
I'll choose thoughts on new crisis, comma, maybe biggest winners or losers.
Okay, just let me know when you start. We're already rolling. Just say the thing.
Hello, are you tired of other wargamers telling you, an MCP player, that you have no friends? Well, come on down to Squad Goals, where you and your two very real friends can play MCP together in this all new...
It's not new.
In this very team format. Come on down to Chicago.
It's in Niles.
Come to close to Chicago in May.
3rd and 4th.
3rd and 4th for all the MCP excitement. And if you fall into that old MCP stereotype of having no friends, don't worry. Hop on Alfredo's Discord and trick 2 people into becoming your friend.
Tell them about the website.
Just go to the website squadgoalsmcp.com. Sign up today.
So what are your
You guys
thoughts?
suck ass. Why am I the host?
Everyone
okay.
loves hearing from you.
Yeah, everyone loves hearing from me. I don't know why.
That's fine. You don't need to. Just bring the magic.
Here are my raw, uncut thoughts about the new crises. And then Vince and Nate, who actually have been consistently playing recently, can tell me why I'm stupid and dumb. Some of the crises seem cool. Some of them seem boring. I think getting rid of ease was overall a good idea because they're just kind of flat. I think they could have left one in. I still kind of like the idea of leaving exactly one in, but they didn't, and that's fine. But they did. Oh, not secures. Shut up. Secures and researcher, not Montez. And I think the crisis pack is not obviously broken in any way. That's my take on it. There's not like oh fuck, this one play style is just dominant. But I don't really have like super strong thoughts yet because I haven't played a ton of games on the new crises, unfortunately, about like exactly where the meta is heading. I feel like they could have spiced up the shapes a little bit more. I kind of wish they did that. That's it. Those are my thoughts. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, I'm going to grill you on some of these thoughts because I have follow-up questions.
Yeah, sure.
Which ones do you think are exciting? You said some are exciting and some are boring.
I think Deadline is fun.
Okay.
And I am going to double check the list to make sure I don't misname these because
because
it took me like 3 years to remember the crisis names of the old pack, so I'm still learning the new ones.
I mean, I fuck up the new ones.
Wow,
too,
that means
so.
you just figured them out because we had them most exactly 3
Okay,
years.
whatever, 2 years. No. A lot of them were from the previous one. But anyway, I like what the fuck is it called? Samples, scientific samples. There we go.
Okay.
I think that one's cool and fun. I think that's
one,
a
right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
you like skull cubes.
I like skull cubes. Is that what it is?
That's
No.
I'm reading all these in real time. That's what it feels like.
The MCP DB picture for scientific samples found in Discovered Universe is still the cropped image from when they were spoiled. I love that.
Because they haven't put out the print to play yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay, well, that's another thing I don't like about the Crisis Pack is they should get their shit together.
They're putting it out the 17th, they said. So
It is nice of them that even though it was delayed and the physical product's not going to be out, they're going to release the print and play on time, which will probably cost them sales in some amount. I don't think it'll be significant, but it's cool that they're willing to still do that.
Yeah. Huh. Oh, and then I also so I think no, not Shi'ar Empress. Which one is the one I'm looking for? The two sets of 2 on the midline.
Wedding Party.
Wedding Party, that one. Yeah, I think that one is a really cool shape, but I wish they would commit in one direction or the other with the attack ones. Like, I think the attack is meaningless on this and on Montesi since they like locked down.
Wait.
You can't really.
Oh, you meant
You
Inhuman
meant
Weapons.
Inhuman Weapons. You're not talking about
Yeah,
the secure. You're talking about Inhuman Weapons.
Oh, sorry. Did I say secure? I meant
Well, we implied and then guessed.
And I
Inhumans
think I
deploy
assumed
advanced
so.
weaponry. Yeah,
Okay,
I meant the
yes,
extract.
okay.
Sorry. So I don't like. I want the Inhuman weapons and the Montesi weapons to be interesting and cool,
Yep.
but they're not. So they
No.
either need to make those attacks more like they should make them better, but still have the restrictions. Like you can't boost them, but they should be like an extra die. Like it should be like a beam 3/7 dice or something like that. Or they should do something that is not an attack. That would be okay with me too. But like the effect of the assets is lame, but I really like that shape. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, the
I guess
shape
those
is
are the
really
three
cool.
that come to mind off the top of my head that I find interesting
Okay.
and fun.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think the shape of Inhuman weapons is cool, and leads to some reasonably interesting openings. I do think, yeah, having like watching Vince play that scenario really did solidify for me that they like overcorrected the problem of it. Because like the original Montesi beam where you could do anything you wanted to it is probably over the top, right? Where you
Yeah.
could like
Yeah.
mantle with Black Panther and have a reroll all beam is probably not okay. So like I get why they wanted to put some safety guards on it, but now no one uses it unless you're a shield agent, which is why I bring up Vince playing it because it's the only thing it's actively good on.
Yeah,
It's like
totally.
the
It's
shield
really
agent
good.
and Wolverine's charge.
Right.
And I wish, yeah, I think making the attack better so it's a thing that you actually use would be interesting.
I mean, you could also. Oh no, you can't use it with the like Corvus's stuff because it specifies the attack. Yeah. Okay. Right.
So I wish it was like a more interesting effect. Like, so we talked about this a bunch that I thought that the Montesi books should have had all of their restrictions removed, and then after the attack is resolved, it hexes you.
Sure. I mean, that'd be one way to do it. I don't know.
So
I don't
like,
really.
I don't know. There's like a push and pull with using it. Like it is really strong, but then it gets weaker, and I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, I really think that like they could do. They just have to do something to them because they're just dead right now. It's just like dead text basically. But I like that shape. And yeah, I think Deadline's a really cool effect. I think Scientific Samples is a really cool effect. And I guess the other thing is I think that like even though there were like play patterns that I thought were really cool with stackable extracts, I think kind of stopping that from happening more or less all the time is probably better for the game just because
Wow. They haven't
Yeah, I mean, I
stopped
know
it from
it's
happening all the time.
Yeah, it still kind of annoys me on cubes and hammers, but
yeah, but I mean, I guess every time they update the Crisis Pack, fewer things do that, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I guess maybe it would have been maybe that's another thing I think they maybe should have just committed to is made it like just while they're doing this also make it hammers not let you do that or something. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what was I going to say? Because yeah, my general statement on these crisis changes and the new crises is that they're boring in a good way. Because like they're objectively like very little spice being added here. I think Deadline is spicy and interesting. I think Samples is interesting. Those are my two favorites, hands down. And I think a lot of these other ones, it's just like there's nothing wrong with it. And I think that's fine. You know what I mean? I think for kind of the first attempt at doing this crisis change, and also because like a lot of the worst crisis they've been ever made have been them trying to do cool and weird shit. Right? Like Wakandan Herb was trying to do something cool and different. Sword was trying to do something cool and different. Researcher was trying to do something cool and different. I'm kind of like, I'm okay for the next year to be a little bit more boring, but just playing some normal Marvel no matter what the draw is, right? Like every combination I've played now feels like just normal ass Marvel is happening. And I'd probably feel differently if they didn't tell us that this is only going to be for a year and then the crises will change again, right? If this was kind of their old method of communication where it's like, this is the only change we're ever going to make, I'm never going to do it again, fuck you. I would probably be more pessimistic about this set, right? Because I don't want to play this set of crisis for the next 4 years, right? The game would be way too boring with that. But for 1 year, I think it's great.
Yeah. Oh, I also think I actually kind of am mad about it's 2 of the new ones that they didn't put in the Challenger pack.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I liked both of those effects. I think they should just kill Skrulls and put Royal Rescue in. Or
I agree with
something.
that, but I think Skrulls is a more interesting crisis than Royal Rescue.
Really? I don't know.
Just
Yeah,
Skrulls
don't think-
annoys me. Royal Rescue is you get a power, right?
yeah. When you interact.
When you're holding it and then you interact with something else, you get a power. Like, I think that's a cool
It's-
effect.
I think it's okay. I think there's too many combinations where it doesn't do anything.
That's true.
Like, I
And I
think-
don't think it's enough of an incentive to like make them actually come in and play the scenario.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Skrulls doesn't do that either. It just when you pick it up the first time, you get a little excited about maybe getting completely fucked and your game ruined, and then when it doesn't happen, you're like, okay, now this no longer has text on it.
Yeah, like I think this one is absolutely like too boring to be good, but I would rather have it than Skrulls. Just because I've seen too many games where one
The first
scroll
Skrull
push
push
just
decides the
fucks
game.
everything. Yeah. It's just like
Yeah, so like first of all, if you're playing Skrulls, you should plan to be pushed. Like
you should for sure.
like being pushed should not ruin your game. Which is what I think makes Skrulls interesting on turn one.
Hmm.
Is like the like fear of touching the midline.
See, I don't. That's what annoys me about Skrulls. Not because you shouldn't have fear, but it should just push you. It should just push you. I think.
Oh yeah,
the
it shouldn't.
thing
It shouldn't
that's
roll.
annoying
Yeah.
is
Actually, I
when
like that a lot better.
you have fear and you're like, damn, it would be fucked up if I got pushed. So you don't take something, and then your opponent is like, hey, what do the extracts do as they're picking it up, and then they are not pushed. Like that's what annoys.
I don't know. Roll
me.
4
It's not-
and they're like, yeah, it doesn't do anything.
and they're
never
like,
mind.
geez, wow, I'm playing a character with 1 physical defense. I hope this goes okay. And then they roll a crit, and it's like, cool. I'm glad I was careful.
Yeah, I think the
That's-
randomness of the push is the problem more than the push.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right, but I do think Skrulls is a better crisis than this one, or it creates more interesting board states than this will create.
I don't agree.
Ship security should say if you're holding one and you interact with an objective, you get pushed.
No,
I
I
don't
actually
think
think
that's going to do what you want.
We want the opposite. Like,
If you don't interact with this, you're
Ooh, yeah.
you don't interact with the secure this.
You end
you are
your
pushed.
activation without taking an interact action. You get
All right,
pushed.
now we're
Now we're
talking.
But anyway, Vince, what are your thoughts on the crisis
Oh,
writ
that's-
large?
It's so interesting you ask that because I made a whole video that you can watch about my opinions on
Why
the
is this
crises.
guy even on the podcast? He's like,
I don't know. Let's get rid of him.
Look at this, get him out of here.
No, please, the cross promotion. Also, Pat's on my team keeping me in because then he'd have to go back to
yeah,
editing the
actually,
podcast.
Vince has to stay.
Pat's
Okay,
like,
well,
what
we'll
if
just
I
talk over him
took
then?
your votes and voted myself out with them?
Okay, fine. Vince can stay, but Pat has to start making YouTube videos about Marvel.
I'm in. I am so in.
Okay, what if I made YouTube videos about something else?
Okay.
That has to be Marvel.
No,
Wait, no, hold on.
no. There's
Is it going to be
I
about
think-
Guild Ball?
no, probably not.
You start playing Warhammer?
Blood Bowl.
Somebody did try and get me to play Blood Bowl.
Yeah,
You have a
it's-
Blood Bowl
they're
team.
all
I
in
wish
this
I could.
video call.
No, actually. Just tell me about your YouTube video.
Oh,
Yeah,
anyway,
Vince, what did you say in the YouTube video for those of us who can't
Yeah.
see or go to YouTube?
I think the scenario update rules, but also I kind of think I would come to that conclusion regardless of whether the scenario packet was good or not. I just think
What?
that like
He just
I
likes
think that-
change. He wants.
I
new
think that
shit.
change is just
Alright.
really good for the game, especially in the short term.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's always like Christmas morning when huge balance passes happen.
Oh, okay. I mean, okay,
like
I agree
this.
with that. Yeah, it's exciting when there's
Like,
changes, definitely.
I'm going to be excited about it no matter what. I do think the packet is good. I think there's a lot of really interesting, really clever design. Like, my favorite is comparing samples to Paranoia
Mm-hmm.
and how they're kind of similar crises it's a 4-wide crisis that when you pick it up, there's an extra VP available on the table. But how it fundamentally changes the tempo of the game is completely polar opposite to each other. Whereas Paranoia always accelerated the game, and going 3-1 on that extract was a recipe for losing the game.
True.
And paranoia and samples is the opposite of that, where it's really hard to score the 4th victory point on turn 1 at least, because you need double safe grab, or you need it to be on a D shape.
Yeah. Right.
Like
right,
if you're
right.
holding more of them, it becomes harder to get the bonus. Like just by definition, if you have
Yeah.
more of them, it's harder to get the bonus. So like more often than not, it's like a very soft rubber band that helps out the person holding
Yeah.
less of them.
And it's
Yeah,
really subtle, clever game design. And I think it just like it really shows like the maturity of the design team at AMG. And I just like I'm over the moon about the design of this crisis. I think it's so clever.
Yeah,
it's so funny
it's
that
the
you're saying
best.
that, because like while you were explaining that, I had to think this through. Not because like I play Midnight Suns, and so like like I really like the crisis too, but my faction is just like, yes, I will take all 3, thank you, and yes, I will be scoring the bonus point every turn.
Yeah.
if I get to go
Well,
last, like
Yeah.
but
I
There's
mean,
only really 2 factions bringing double
I
safe
mean
grabs,
not every
and you're
turn,
one of them.
but it's so hard to stop me on turn 1. It's awesome. I
well,
love that crisis.
okay, hold on.
What?
It's not that hard to stop you from getting 3 of those extracts on turn 1. It is just hammer shape. If your
Well,
opponent
no,
doesn't
sorry,
have a
but-
plan,
Sorry, what I meant to say is it's hard if I get 2 or 3. It's really hard to stop me from getting the bonus point,
Mhm.
Sure,
and also
okay,
I
yes.
can,
Yeah. 'cause
and
you-
also I almost certainly get to attack you too. Like it's
yeah,
just like a
you will
really-
get the bonus point
yeah.
turn 1. That I'll
Yeah.
agree with. But like,
Yeah.
you should not be getting 4 victory points from samples on turn 1 unless
Oh,
your
but I
opponent
have.
is asleep at the wheel.
Well, they need a safe grab though, because you grab 2 of them, your back one and your side one, and then the side one that they would grab, you can eye Hulk upon if they don't
Yeah,
if they don't have.
I
a safe
mean,
grab.
if they're playing against Midnight Suns, I hope they have a plan for dealing with
yeah.
your ability to hit the midline really fucking hard, because that's what your faction just does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
That's what Blade does.
Oh, right, I can't
Well,
say his
yeah,
faction.
yeah,
is
sorry,
the
very
good,
active.
There's
that's
like
what the
another-
good version of your faction does.
Mhm.
well, yeah. I mean, Elsa can shoot the midline.
I think that Elsa hits the midline
As
just
hard
less
as I
hard,
Hulk,
and
right?
is the same.
as hard as I Hulk. Yes, that's correct.
They should give her a 7 dice builder.
Ooh, with,
Only on turn 1.
with wild throw.
Oh, God.
That would be hype.
No, just put
But
that on
keep
her
it- keep it-
leadership. One of the
keep it a
effects you
gun.
can pay for is a throw.
That would be, now we'd be talking.
I mean, you'd see another Midnight Suns video out of me for sure.
Did you make a Midnight Suns video recently? I should check that out.
You have watched it. It was when I qualified. Last time I played Midnight Suns.
Sorry, I thought you were saying that you made one about like Midnight Suns on the new Crises or something.
No.
But if Elsa could pick a throw in there, I would be making one. I promise you.
Yeah, well, that would be that would be newsworthy. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
I-
agree. Samples is a good design for sure.
And I do think, like, yeah, I like all of the new Crisis to varying degrees. I think some are kind of like boring, but there's none that I actively dislike, at least not yet. I do think, like, I think Wedding Party is interestingly different from Fisk, right?
Yeah.
It has some of my. I still don't love playing it. I haven't decided if that's just because X-Men are really bad at it, because they've always been bad at Fisk, and this is just a Fisk shape. But I think the power drain is less punishing than the stun. And I also like that the power drain is a bigger bubble that happens every turn. So it's not like Fisk where you get stunned only when it moved. It's just every time everyone near the thing is going to lose a power. And I think that's just easier to understand and easier to play.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also just better to not have, like, not make stun immunity such a big difference in how you interact with the scenario. Like, I think
Yep.
that was just a bad kind of. I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about any of the crises that do conditions, but that one felt like the most extreme. The difference between
Still
Yes.
is.
whether you can
Stun
stand
is such
on
a
it, so,
ball busting condition, especially when it doesn't come like stun was only okay in the game because it was largely implemented after damage on a big attack.
Yeah.
Right. It's like it almost always was like, here's a bucket of power, no more power for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll spend this and hope to die. Like,
Yep.
and Fisk doesn't do that. It's like, here's no power for you. Here's stun. Get fucked, you 1 power character.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
poison them with A-bomb, and it's great.
Yeah. And also every character that's expensive is like immune to this.
That's not true.
Yeah, it's
Not
not
every
true. It's not
character.
true
You just don't
anymore.
like
I'm
Hulk.
sorry. I just don't. I'm just mad about Hulk.
Yeah.
But I
and
mean, it
Thanos
did
and-
make like Hulk really, 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 really good at Fist.
For sure.
Like I mean, it like makes things like Hulk or Immortal Hulk or Juggernaut extremely exciting on Fisk. But
I also just think Hulk is absurd in the current packet. Like I think you should be playing Hulk or playing counters to Hulk, and I think those are the two valid ways to build rosters right now.
do you think Hulk is better in this package than in the previous package?
So I'm talking specifically about Hulk 1, and
No,
yes,
I know I wasn't. Yeah,
because
why come?
Hulk isn't a like Hulk does not love E shape. Like he can do fine on
Yeah.
E shape and whatnot. Like the model's very good. Like he can do fine anywhere. But he prefers a game that requires some mobility so that like gamma leap is very viable, so that the medium throw is very viable.
Yeah,
Because if the person that you're throwing needed to go somewhere, right, and you throw them in the opposite direction, that's very helpful.
mm-hmm.
So I think yeah, I just think that this packet's amazing for him. He's great at pay to flips. All the pay to flips have come in too, which I also think is really great design. Like I'm totally
Oh, like gotten closer together. You mean?
yeah, they've gotten closer together.
yeah,
That's what I mean by come in.
Yeah.
So that means that like it's really likely that Hulk starts on one, can jump to the other, still make his 2 attacks, still take 2 pay to flip attempts, still throw someone.
Yeah, it's a cool model.
And I think people are also just more comfortable trying to run the bases when they get to visit more than 2 bases on their turn.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Pat?
Pat, you don't seem to believe these statements.
That's not how my Hulk works, but I understand that it's sort of possible.
Should be
Like-
even more possible for you. You get a discount on one of the things.
Yeah,
listed.
I'm aware, but like that's a lot of power.
What? It's
Uh,
5.
Leap.
Oh, it's the 2 flips. Yeah. So,
yeah,
okay.
like that's
Yeah,
a lot of power.
No, you're right. It's a lot.
But yeah,
That's
look,
6,
right? 'Cause
There's 2
I've played
flips.
one game of the new Crises. Don't. I'm
It's
just here for the vibes.
Sure.
it's leap, throw 2 flips, so 7 is what he's saying.
Yeah,
Oh well, it's 6 with Pat's list, but yeah.
That's true.
but we're gonna talk about it later. But I think my list is bad now.
It's not.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's
It's
not,
not?
dude. Avengers are
not.
like top tier.
Are they? That's exciting.
I hope it's.
I'm gonna go back to not
bad.
playing.
I hate playing against that list.
Also, if
Uh,
you aren't having fun with that list, boy, have I got a criminals list. you're
Yes,
gonna
I'm excited to
love.
hear about this later.
This is another
well-
your criminals list. I was right again, but I'm too
What?
stupid to follow up on it.
what
I
were you right
think if
about?
we went through Discord or this group chat, we could find
Yeah.
me being like Juggernaut should be in every Kingpin list, like 80 years ago, like before.
I think that he
before-
was when he came out.
Okay, well then why did people stop?
Uh,
A lot more stuff that can move Juggernaut showed up.
So why did people start again?
So,
because
I actually don't think it's the moving of Juggernaut that was the problem. I think the reasons you stopped seeing Juggernaut is because you saw more other different big boys. So, like, Juggernaut is not great into Hulk. It's not as bad as, like, Abomination, but, like, the Juggernaut Hulk matchup, Hulk wins that 80% of the
Like-
time easily.
Yeah.
And I think unnerfed Malekith could do really mean things to Juggernaut. I think CGR is capable of killing Juggernaut very quickly if you can just incinerate him and start zapping with energy. And like,
we can't incinerate him, but
oh yeah, that's right. Okay. But I also just think that like
I still think
Juggernaut's-
that's true, regardless of whether you
Yeah,
can incinerate him or
sure.
not.
but then like Juggernaut punching Malekith wasn't that exciting, right? Like Juggernaut's ability to put Malekith or CGR down has never been great, right? He's like a 5 threat that's good at beating up weenie. Like he really just wants to go beat up squishy 3 threats and be a big
Yeah.
bully. And
Yeah.
Do that.
the meta was not a thing where you wanted that.
But is it now? I mean, are people playing like pretty wide stuff now?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, I think the game is more comfortable being played wide than it's ever been.
Yes.
Huh.
Uh,
than it's ever been.
Ever is
I-
a strong statement, but
Yeah, Ever's it's
I don't
maybe
know.
a little bit too far, but
okay,
I
since
think
Malekith was
it's similar
released,
to Wakanda wave timing, where like you kind of have like it's
so
very
I don't-
5 wide.
Yeah, so yes, I think the like hyper tall rosters are worse than they were in a couple meaningfully different ways. And the proof I have of this is that Van has been playing like 4 wide rosters now.
Whoa. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's fucked up,
Playing
man.
the alarm bells, everybody.
But like in general, there's just more scenario on the board. And you need to spread it. Like your footprint just has to be larger, right? Like McCran and Fisk are fairly narrow, and you can play like teams that want to group up and brawl, but your footprint just has to be bigger than it was 2 months ago.
Okay.
And there's more extracts. Like there's a lot of these new 4 extracts that you can only hold 1, right? Like the fact that none of the new extracts let you stack multiple is bad news for Kaiju. I think you'll still see them, right? Like I think I Hulk in Midnight Suns and stuff like that is still very good. Like I'm playing pretty tall. That's what you're talking about. I am playing 5 wide at every threat level, no matter what. Right now, is what I've determined is the best course of action. And so I think, yeah, you're going to see a lot more 4 and 5 wide stuff, which does help out Juggernaut. I also think the new pay flips are all good for him. Like he was always one of the best models at Mad Men for Mr. Jugs. And I think the fact that all the pay flips are now just the same shape, they're all squares, just of different sizes now. And then meteors, I guess. He's good at all of those. I think he's really good at Deadline. And I think being good at Deadline, I think there's going to be a bunch of teams trying to use Deadline well. And so that value has gone up for him. I think he's really good at Terrigen canisters because he's one of these models. This is part of like Vince's roster we'll get to later. But the Terrigen canister, while you're holding it, makes you speed short.
Oh, right.
Juggernaut doesn't give a shit about being speed short. He's still exactly as fast as he ever is. So I just think like the overall change has been good for him, and a lot of the new crises are good for him as well.
He doesn't like being poisoned though, but yeah, I guess that's
just real good.
He doesn't care about being. What do you mean? Why the character has infinite power?
No,
What
he
are you
doesn't.
talking
he
about?
doesn't. There's a
No,
huge
he
difference
doesn't
between
have
getting
infinite
3
power,
a
but-
turn and 2 a turn. A huge difference.
It's a big
Man, I
difference.
do not think the poison matters at all in Juggernaut.
You're
but
wrong.
all right.
It's fine.
It's crazy.
And also, he's not likely to be poisoned.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's
true. I
the real
agree.
solution. Is just roll good.
Yeah.
Or have
But
someone
also
else
it,
pick
like-
it up and get poisoned and then hand it to you.
True.
That happens a lot. I like that a lot. It's good. That,
More spoilers for later.
so I also put out a video about the shield crisis that I am doing, and I think shield rapidly transforming from an E-shapes fighting list to a pay to flip team is a wild change that I would not have guessed going into the new crises.
Are you playing original Human Torch?
I am not. No,
Damn.
I'm playing good models
His day will come.
and Yondu.
Yondu's a good model.
Oh God, my Yondu's not a good model.
Wow.
I have been absolutely abused super hard by Yondu, and I have also had him just go "Wah, wah," every time I've played him. He's been fine to terrible.
So I do think I want to talk about pay to flips in the new world as
Yeah.
the Mr. Expert on pay to flips. It's weird. So I think that X-Men did not get significantly better with the new crisis changes. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is great for X-Men," and I think it's like fine, if any, maybe slightly bad, but probably just evens out to being fine. Why do I think this? So one, I think everybody talking about X-Men and Storm being bad at E-shapes was just wrong. I think X-Men were only bad at E-shapes if you just refused to put in the models that were good at E-shapes. Like Domino. So Domino got cut from my roster because E-shapes went away. But that crisis where she can just plant her feet and shoot things was really good, right? And then you just bring in an Ultron or a Hulk or a big model that's good at E shapes, and you could play totally fine. Like, you weren't the best E shape team, but the E shapes weren't a problem. Thor was a problem, but that was just Thor being Thor, right? Into like the Thanos stuff, I could beat Thanos on Researcher and stuff like that just fine. I had game into it. It wasn't a problem. So like, I'm happy E-Shapes has gone away as a player, but I don't think that's like a meaningfully big change for X-Men's win rates.
Mhm.
And then we lost the most abusive pay to flip, which is good, right? Like, Spider Portals being gone is good for everyone, and I'm excited to never have to play it again. But that was also the crisis where I felt I got the strongest advantage by playing X-Men, because now, like, I still think they're good at Mad Men, but then the other two are both narrower than Mad Men. And so what I've discovered is that, like, the extra mobility I have and the ability to get to a lot of points is not as it's easier for other rosters to match me on that, right?
Mhm.
Like, McCran is a crisis was like, yeah, Nightcrawler can touch a bunch of points, so can a lot of other models, right? Whereas, like, getting around to different spider portals was hugely difficult, and something where you would need like a mobile model plus the hop to be able to do such a bunch of flips. That's just not true on the new flips. So, like, I still think X-Men are very good at pay to flips, but I think a lot of other teams can be very good at McCran and Guardian Save Empress.
Mhm.
And
I hope we call it Empress.
Sure.
That's what I hope we call it.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. McCran and Empress, I think there's a bunch of other teams that can now hang with X-Men there. And I don't feel like I'm getting as large of an advantage on those as I was before.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, well, and so that's part of why, like, my new roster is trying to do dumb extract shit to see if that's the new way to feel like my roster is getting a leg up on someone else. TBD.
So I think you're like, what you're arguing is like literally true in like a
Good.
great technicality way, but uh like, if like X-Men are in such a laughably better spot than they were pre researcher restriction, which is like, what is that, 3 months ago, 3-4 months ago?
Okay, why do you say this?
So like researcher being gone is incredible for you. Researcher was
I-
one of the best ways to counter X-Men.
I don't agree. Continue.
What? I thought, man.
It was
I think
it
you
was
like
a good way to counter X-Men who wouldn't put a Hulk in their roster. If you put a Hulk in your roster, you were fine.
Okay. I mean, maybe I'm still just looking through the game in too much of a shield lens, but I think that's really
sure,
helpful.
yes.
Like, I definitely think that you were better at it than other X-Men players were like doing, but I do think it's like not one of your strengths.
Yeah.
I think all the changes to like the character nerfs that happened are all incredible for X-Men. Right. And then even though you're
yeah.
not as hands down the best pay to flip team, I still personally believe you are the best pay to flip team, and more teams bringing pay to flips thinking that they're advantaged on them, but just not as advantaged as you, is all upside for X-Men.
So I agree that second part is potentially true. I just don't know how much better I am at pay to flip. So, like, I need to play a good Apocalypse player to figure out who I think is actually better, because I have concerns that actually Apocalypse is the pay to flip team over us, and also Asgard is not dead.
They sure aren't. But nobody
is
let's
another
all spend the
spooky
next 6
option.
months pretending that they are, though.
Yes,
Can we do that?
So I just don't know, right? Like, I don't. In my initial games have gone well. Like, X-Men are in a good spot for sure, right? Like, I don't want anybody to think this is me dooming about X-Men being in a bad spot. But my initial read was that this was all super exciting gravy, and then in practice, I just haven't felt as strong on the new pay to flips as I did on the old ones. And that's probably just adjustment, right? And like, yeah, we were the best at spider portals and could bend people over barrel with it, but also that crisis fucking sucked. So, good riddance.
I'm reminded of our last game on Spider Portals, which I watched Nate have the worst Spider Portals game. Like, imagine in your mind as bad a Spider Portal game as can possibly happen. watched
Okay.
Nate fail 7 or 8 flips, 6 of which placed him.
That's funny.
I just
They're
got
so
to put his
bad.
models wherever I wanted, and then he failed to take the secures for me. I won very quickly.
That's I mean, yeah. That's why pay to flips are silly.
Yeah, I
Just fun
think
when
they're less silly because also we didn't get any new punishment mechanics either.
Yes.
That's true. Yeah, that's interesting.
That is one thing I really like about the new pay to flips is if you fail a flip, the worst thing that happens to you is that you don't get control of the point. There's no
Yeah, that's
additional kick
probably
in
a
the
good-
shins
Yeah.
on your way out the door.
The punishment for pay to flips is that you spent a power for no fucking reason.
Yes. You
That's the
know,
punishment for pay to flips. Like those are precious power, especially in a lot of teams that are like the lower power teams,
Yep.
like Shield and Web Warriors and stuff like that. Like paying for a pay to flip and not getting it is can be backbreaking in some
Mhm.
setups. But then also
Yeah.
like take a damage, like the fuck you.
Yeah, well,
Like-
Meteor still exists.
I know, but
yeah.
yeah. But it's like it's better than it was.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I sort of agree with Nate. I mean, I guess maybe it's just because there are a larger percentage of the secures are pay to flips now. But like, I feel
That's
like
not true.
it's not true, really.
No, as many left as came in.
But didn't more secures leave in total than came in? Maybe I'm wrong about
No.
that. Oh, never mind. Okay, well, what I was gonna say doesn't make any sense then. But I guess I just felt that way. Maybe it's just because people are testing out the new stuff. And
That's
so-
probably what's going on.
So I'm seeing pay to flips more than I used to. But yeah, never mind. But I sort of agree with you anyway that like people shouldn't be as afraid to run pay to flips if they are not a special pay to flip team. I'm not. I go back and forth about whether I'm going to run any in Midnight Suns, but
I still think
Everybody.
it's a little spooky for midnight. Like I'm still
Yeah.
spooked of playing pay to
expensive,
flips
but-
in a leadership that costs power.
yeah, exactly. It's expensive, but I feel more okay about getting them than I used to.
I think that part I can see being true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I played Midnight Suns, we were always okay on pay to flips, but I was never like a thing we wanted.
Yeah, them being closer together is nicer too for
Yes.
bump,
Totally.
But I mean, not that there's any that you can bump from one to the other, except maybe the closest one with iHulk. But
You absolutely can with iHulk on the
Yeah.
closest one, maybe on the second closest one.
I don't think
The second one's
But you
still the distance across is infinity.
No,
Yeah,
isn't the
so you-
distance across Scoundrels, or is that the same?
That's the same.
Okay.
So you cannot, but you could.
I think you can.
You could do it. Well, you could do it with Gamma
I
Leap
mean, I think-
bump, but yeah. But that's a lot of money.
It is. I mean, okay.
Anyway,
But yeah, this
Pat,
is the other
you get-
reason X-Men are going to be
Yes.
worse. Is people are going to be
Hmm.
less scared to play pay to flips, which means they actually learn how to play pay to flips and
Oh, okay.
realize that the
This is
strength
a
of
very
X-Men on
Vin-
pay
this
to
is a
flip.
Vince
This is a
answer.
very
That is a
I
very
have
specific
destroyed the
thing.
Sacramento meta. As much as it has acted upon me, I have acted upon it.
People are going to know how to play them now. It sucks. I liked it when they were ignorant, which
Yeah.
is also why you should, if you want to get some free wins off people, you should find a list that's really good at Fisk and Wedding Party, because so many people do not know how to play those, and just slam those in people's faces and collect free wins.
Nate, how do you play those?
Well, I've been talking to Kolar about his Hydra list that's using World Domination turn 1 to do some really dumb shit.
Yeah, the turn
That's
one world. The problem is you have to like hang. You have to hang somebody out there, and that feels
Yeah.
bad.
It's fine.
Hmm.
There's a Sentinel Prime in there now. It's sick.
Oh.
Wow. Huh. That sounds exciting. Yeah. Any last thoughts on the thing in general, or should we talk about
Yeah,
various
Pat.
Vince lists?
You got any thoughts about
Okay.
the new crises?
Do I have any thoughts about the? Okay, I have one complaint about crises and a question.
Exciting.
So somebody, I think Alex Bots,
Ooh.
earlier mentioned a thing that I identified with in the early days of playing Marvel, where remembering the names of crises was a fucking nightmare.
Mm,
Oh
mhm.
yeah.
And there aren't that many of them.
There's
So the
24.
fact that the last two alphabetically that are in the Challenger document both
Oh,
contain
yeah.
the word wedding is fucking stupid.
Dude, I
It's
trip over that all the
themed.
time.
Yeah,
It's
he does.
fucking
Themed, Pat. Don't you love the narrative? You love narrative.
No,
That's one of the
I do
things
not
that
care
Pat
for the narrative.
Van Valza loves about games is narrative.
it bugs me.
Could be
that
literally any
this-
other kind of party.
Yeah, it is really stupid. It's dumb.
Well, and also just
It could have
like,
just been reception instead of wedding
Yeah.
party. That would have
Yes,
been fine.
yes.
Like,
They
yeah.
should have just not put the. It should have been unexpected guests. It should have just been called like
Crash.
unexpected guest crash royal wedding. What's it?
Well,
No, it should
so
just
like
be
I'd be
unexpected guest
fine.
crash.
Crash
They
royal
just-
reception.
No, they just crash. They just like run into.
They
a
just
tree.
crash.
I just want party targeted and terrible attack, and I can call it party.
any kind of party.
Yeah, like exactly. We can be whatever kind of party you want.
We should try to not call either of them wedding. We should try to call them unexpected and party.
Yeah, guests.
You're selling me.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
only
that's
other thing I'm interested in is sort of whether two things that you guys talked about are related or not.
Okay.
Which is the idea that lists are wider than they've ever been before, or something along those lines.
Or have been recently.
Yeah,
anyway, but
they have been some time. Like I think
And-
tall is deader than it's been in a long time.
Yeah, and whether the death of Thor 2 was greatly exaggerated.
It absolutely is.
Well, so okay, I'm interested in that in general, but like separately, is that because lists are not as narrow as they were before?
No,
No. Okay.
I think they're
So why-
unrelated.
So my feeling on Thor 2, so like I'm a little bit flippant and a little bit like love to like be extreme on things. Who
You're
knows?
Vince,
Who
I
knew?
understand.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. But I kind of think though what's happened is that the Thor 2 counters work now, as opposed to just like you just play them and like now you have a 45% chance to win with the hard counter.
Okay.
And so like Thor 2, like his turn 1 is way worse. He has kind of like an Ulik style turn 1 where he doesn't get to do a lot on the
Mhm.
first turn because he's a medium move, medium base, range 2 character, which means without help, he doesn't do anything on turn 1 and he's 6 threat. So that like hurts. Like there isn't really another 6 threat character that does nothing on turn 1.
Right. But okay, it's off to a bad start.
Right. Which a lot of people
Sounds like it
feel
did
like
well, but
it
yeah.
makes you play Loki more so that you can go forth.
Okay.
I think the thing is you just like admit that Thor is like not going to have an incredible turn 1. And you just set up and have an incredible turn 2. Like just like go double walk next to a thing that you're going to murder. And have pounce, and if you do 3 damage, you have the other throw, and you still go 6 die, size 4 terrain throw, size 3 me throw. Look, I killed a 7 threat I killed a 3 threat and a 4 threat. Wow.
Wow.
Wow, what a bad 6
So-
threat.
Okay.
like-
That doesn't seem crazy. But I guess
so I think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Pat.
I don't
No,
know.
no.
Okay, maybe I'm reading too much into what you guys are saying. Do you guys I'm sort of interested in hearing what it has to say before this. But like, do you guys think people should be playing Asgard other than people that are like into Asgard? Like,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, if you
Yeah, I
if you
think
like
they're
winning,
still a good
you should
faction.
be into
I
it.
actually think they'd
But
probably
that
be.
does
a
not
good
sound
f-
like what you described, Vince.
I think they'd be a good faction even if you didn't play Thor 2 at all. Like even if Thor 2 was actually dead, like they banned him and you couldn't take the model anymore. I think they wouldn't be like top tier, I don't think they would be top tier, but I think they'd be like a good faction you could win games or tournaments with.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rest of that box that Thor 2 came in is 3 good to great models.
Yeah.
Is
okay.
the Thor 2 image on MCPDB official?
Yes.
So are all new models, when they refer to size, going to have that little diagram instead of the words capital S size 4?
Hopefully.
Okay. For some reason, just today I noticed that he had that. I guess because I had just never looked at the card and just sort of never.
Yeah, I
paid
mean, we
that is
don't
weird.
really
just remembered
know
what changed, but yeah.
what because the new Inhumans that come out don't have this on there, right? But obviously their lead time on that is much longer than this Thor card that was a PDF they put up there. So I don't know how long till you'll see this trickle in, but it does seem to be a new space saving thing.
That's nice.
Hmm.
I was just thinking to myself that Marvel cards need more text. So
Well, this is less
with
text.
one less thing to translate.
well, no, I mean, but more text is in they'll have space for more text. Like
Mhm.
they can be longer.
Yeah, I think the thing with Thor with the changes is that like he has a different play pattern than any of the other sixes. And so a lot of people's immediate gut reaction is it's like, well, if your sixth threat doesn't do anything turn one, then it's bad, which was also a thing I have said. And I'm still on the fence on Thor 2. It's very funny. The game Vince is talking about, where he just got shellacked by Thor 2, immediately before this, I played Eric playing Asgard, and his Thor 2 sucked ass. He accomplished nothing all game because I was able to just kind of like kite him and run away from him. And I mean, it was definitely like a learning game because he's like, okay, well, I need Thor to do something 2-1, so I'm going to go forth him. And it's like, well, I'm still X-Men. I can still stay far enough away that even a go forth doesn't let Thor do anything turn one. So he had to do nothing but spend 2 power off of Loki to do nothing with his Thor. So it was definitely just like I did not realize the new distances here. But so it's just like, I'm not sure if I think Thor 2 is good, but he's definitely not bad, right? Like I definitely think he does so much stuff on his follow-up turns that potentially it's okay for him not to do much turn one. Because like all the other sixes do something turn one, but probably do less than him turns 2 through 4.
The other thing is that like the really problematic situations you'd find yourself in Thor, where like Thor would like come in, he'd kill a model, and he'd almost kill another model and do some like chip damage to everybody, right? And now anything that attacked him is at risk of dying to I say nay, right? That all still exists.
Yep.
I mean, it is less likely though. I mean, it's not like all they did is make his attack range too. Like, I mean,
they took like a damage off his card and
yeah, that's
made his and made his ability cost 1 more.
Yeah,
the one less die on the builder is a big deal for the situation.
Yeah, it is a really big deal.
It's a big deal because of the power generation, not because like it's 1 less damage or whatever.
No,
but
it's both.
And also it makes him less likely to get all of his triggers too. Like I mean, like you guys have more experience into new Thor 2 than I do. I think I have not played him since he got nerfed. Oh no, I did play against him once. Yeah, and I mean I won and he was fine, but he wasn't a disaster or still the same. But but yeah, I mean I just like looking at the math, the difference between 7 dice and 6 dice is kind of a lot. If that's like your main attack.
I mean, so like he definitely. I think the thing is that he like got harder to play. I'm not sure that his like.
Sorry, I think you're right. I just also think it's funny when people describe things in games that are bad as hard to play. It's like, yeah, it seems hard to play. I would agree with you. I mean, one of the hardest things to play in this game is Sentinels, man. That shit's hard as hell.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I think you're right. It is harder to play. There's more room for you to fuck up the positioning because before the combination of his pounce and range 3 just meant that he was like almost always in range of everything, right? So I totally agree with that. But yeah, please continue.
And there are now brands of characters that like he didn't care about at all, like martial arts characters he laughed at, and now he like can struggle to deal with them. The problem is essentially every martial arts character is also def 3 to energy.
But that's fine. Don't be one of those people.
All right.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you, Vince. I'm taking Vince's side on
right,
this. And defense dice
like,
makes a difference.
They're often like they're somewhat susceptible to throws, and also the auto points are really good against Count Blank's characters. So like he has ways to navigate around them. They're not like these brick walls to him.
Yes, that I agree with that.
So again, I think it's like more of a skill tester in like how well you pilot Thor. And I also think like one of our main complaints about Asgard going into LVO was that like a monkey could play it and get like 80% of the strength out of it. Like now the people that got to the top of LVO playing Thor were not those characters that we're making fun of, but that like
no, Eric's a monkey.
Yeah. He really ungunned my bungas. But that like I think he's just like more difficult to play, not significantly weaker.
Yeah. I mean, I do think so. I was
Yeah,
with you
I'm
on
being
the
a little bit like he is weaker, but
He's absolutely
Significant's
weaker.
doing a lot of work there, right?
So the thing you were talking about with martial artist, and so like let's just take I don't know Mystique because she's martial artist and she's 3 defense on everything, like you said, right? And she's 5 HP, which a lot of the martial artist people are exactly that profile. So double tapping her, not counting his pounce or his throw, but like so the double tapping her from 3 with 7 dice, it's the EV is 5.4 damage, and he's got a 63% chance to double tap to hit her is like the to do 5 damage or more, and that went from 63% to with the changes 23%. So that's like a pretty fucking big difference.
That's
I
pretty
mean, this
bad.
is like somebody who's a 2 range martial artist is like the sort of quintessential example where the math has
The
changed
happiest
most.
person on earth,
Like
yeah.
like obviously most targets the math hasn't changed that much, but going from 63 to 23 is pretty crazy. I mean that's like a gigantic
Yeah, I
difference.
think really where
Yeah.
I land on Thor, at least right now, is that so going into LVO, we told everyone you just play Thor every game no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yes.
just slam his ass in there and he's going to have a good time. And now I think you have to play some of your other 9 models in Asgard that
Yes,
are good.
that's
And
true.
he has good
Yeah.
matchups and bad matchups now. If you're playing Vince's Shield, you still slam Thor at
Yeah,
him. You'll
absolutely
win
you
no
do.
matter what.
No,
But
I
into
can
other
I can
teams,
play the counters and stuff, and I have a
okay,
game. Like
fair.
playing like the Namor builds, still have game into Thor,
My shield Mystique
right? And it's
is just
way
a
better than
bear
it
bet.
was. He doesn't just like
Yeah.
he doesn't
But yeah,
like
I think
just
that's
play the 2
really
cards and then he just kills my team.
But yeah, Thor is not dead. But let's pretend
I-
he is because I don't want to think about him.
Yeah. The other thing is that he just still like into like Mystique, he is still like 1 attack pounds into her, she dies half the time.
Oh yeah, I mean, the Mystique thing is like he can still kill her just fine because he has the 2 other things that do 1 billion damage, and he could still spare
Right.
her. But like,
And like my complaint is that he can 1 attack a character, 1 attack the other character, and then if he has both of his throws and hits chip damage, like he's just like really likely to kill 2 things.
But getting both of his throws is so hard now.
It's not. You start to turn off 4 power.
Uh-huh.
So you need to make 3 power with 2 6 dice attacks.
Yeah.
ooh, wait, do you tell me how likely it is that he does that by hitting Mystique twice?
By Mystique twice, 60%.
Hey, yeah, you were actually pretty close. It's 55, so a little bit worse than you thought. But
Are you counting his reroll that he has? Although I guess if he uses the
The
reroll,
reroll
he
that
doesn't.
costs him power, that's going to make
Well,
it
he
hard
could be
to
under
gain
Jane.
power.
He could be under Jane, but yeah.
He could be under Jane, yes.
So then he gets 1 reroll. I did not
Yes.
count a single reroll, so that would be
It's a very important difference.
Yeah, it is because like paying for the reroll is like, oh, I got the extra power. No,
That-
dang it.
that takes it from
Shit.
55 to 63. So
And then you're like, oh no, but now he's naked. Now I'm just gonna leave him alone. Yeah, right.
when you said like Thor is not dead, but let's pretend he is. You ever
Yeah.
seen? I don't know why. I don't know why any of you would have seen this, but you ever seen like advertisements for like the God's Not Dead series of
Yes.
progressively
Yeah.
Christian movies?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they always have the trailers where it's like there's like a professor who's like, I don't believe in God, I believe in science and Nietzsche, and then the young, innocent, honest, hardworking, Christian
Very
boy
good
is
looking.
like- very good looking, and
Obviously.
blonde is like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that explained this, and it's just like a Bible with like a circle around a picture of the the Holy Spirit or whatever, and then the professor's like, oh my God, I believe in Jesus now. That's what we're doing to people who think the Thor is dead. We're the beautiful, angelic, virginal, Christ-like young man, which is true all the time, but in this case has allegorical import.
So hang on, just to summarize your take real quick. Your take is Thor is God in this metaphor?
Yes, that's correct. And we're
Okay, got
preaching the
it.
good word.
Yeah, he's the god of thunder. What do you? I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
I don't know. There's a pretty capital G in that implication.
Well, I think God of Thunder is probably like capitalized. It's a title. He worked hard to get that position, I assume.
I mean, he kind of just inherited it, right? Like,
Damn, Nepo babies.
Well, he has to be
Yeah.
worthy of it, right? Or is that? I guess he doesn't need to have the hammer to still be the god of thunder. So no, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
He's a
not
Nepo
checking if
baby.
you're worthy. The other Thor is checking if you're worthy. She's the one who's like, if she be worthy. That's the one we're checking on. We never even
Yeah.
asked about Thor 1.
If he possess Thor's fingerprints.
Yeah, exactly. If he has trust fund.
All
Okay,
right, let's move
so
on.
yeah,
What
so
are we talking
now
about next?
Is it time to play a game?
oh, we have a game?
Ooh, yeah, we have a new game.
Is
You
it
might
it's
not
different from
remember
the
'cause it was
previous
a
new
year
game?
ago when we last played.
Wait,
No, it's the same as the last game.
Okay. I actually legitimately at this exact moment cannot remember what the game is. Like I'm 100% honest. I can't remember what it was.
Alex, what do you
So
think the game is? Explain the game. That's your
Okay.
job.
Do you remember anything?
like I am really like racking my brain, like seriously trying to remember what you two did to torment Pat, and I can't remember. He had to do something. He had to
Uh-huh.
describe. Oh, did he have to give us clues to guess the character or something like that? It was something like that. I can't remember.
You don't remember because I didn't really give you clues. I just sort of
No, I think I think it
talked.
is. It's like he has the answers and he tries to make me guess or make me and Nate or me and Vince guess, and then one of you has to know because you gave him the list. I can't.
You're on the right track. Yeah.
All right, cool. Can somebody explain the game to me? No,
Vince,
okay. I guess we're not
Mr.
playing.
Game
Okay,
Show.
so
All right, we're not playing.
Brett has like a wheel, or he has like a random character generator.
Oh,
And
right.
It'll generate a
Oh,
character
right.
for him, and then he has to like give us clues about who the
three of
character
us are
is.
trying to guess, right?
Yes.
And I believe round 1 is like vibes only. Round 2, what he can describe what the character looks like, and then round 4 is he can give us game mechanics. Or did I get those flipped?
Yeah. So, round 1, he can't describe the physical appearance or use proper names or talk about their power set. You can talk about their backstory and personality.
Uh-huh.
Then the next round, you can describe how it plays in the game, but you can't name any of the powers directly. And then in the final round, you're allowed to describe their physical appearance. Because it'd be too
Okay.
easy for you just to be, oh, it's the
It's
rainbow
the
man
blonde
with a
lady,
sword. Like,
Yeah.
lady
Yeah.
that flies.
Okay. All right.
do you have a link to this spreadsheet, Pat?
I was looking for it. Not obviously.
Okay, hold on.
We're prepared as hell.
I guess I could go to
Are you going to
like.
send him the new one that Paul made?
No, because I don't
No.
think that. I think that one resets when you reopen.
Yeah, it has. I'll talk to Paul about adjusting it.
Because we need to be able to keep it from
He
week
also
to week.
wrote down the threat next to each of the characters, which is a thing that Pat wouldn't know.
Oh, come on. I probably would.
Okay.
What's
Black Widow's threat?
which one?
Oh, he got you
That's
destroyed.
Pat got me right
Four.
back.
You can't pick a model he plays.
All right, here we'll go a step deeper. Black
Uh-huh.
Widow 2.
That's 3. I played so
Or
much Black Widow 2.
does Black Widow 2 refer to the threat?
Yeah.
It's a nickname joke.
Uh,
TOO.
I don't know where the spreadsheet
I
went.
just DM'd you a link to it.
Oh, I don't have Discord open.
Yes, you
What?
do.
Yes, you do.
We're talking on
What are we
Discord.
talking about?
No, he's
Oh, wait.
updating it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna click somewhere in the spreadsheet.
I'm
Just
waiting
like
for the
type in a
game.
cell or something. Yeah.
What
I'm-
the? Okay. Well, it opened with one, and I'm mad about the structure of the spreadsheet
Why? What?
because it's not. Okay, I can't tell you.
You should.
So
I mean, I have it open, so you can. Like, we're not going to do this one because I had it open to get you the link.
this
so I'm
isn't a
seeing-
model. This is half of a model.
What? Does your screen say lizard?
No,
What does yours say?
this is hand ninjas.
Oh,
Damn, you should have got tried to
So
get us
that totally
together.
works. That works for the game.
That would no.
this is
I
what
don't-
happens when I. Yeah, we're leaving all the grunts in there, buddy. They're in MCPGB, so.
Oh,
You're,
I
just
guess
lucky,
they
you're
are.
lucky the terrain sets aren't in there.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll
Cool.
click
All
on the
right. So I click
spreadsheet.
somewhere in here, and
Just like type in a cell or something, and it should.
thing will happen. Okay. What's the first round? I'm allowed to talk about.
It's on the
how
screen
their
in front
vibes
of you.
are.
The rules are on
Great.
the sheet for you.
They're part of the Asgardian Empire.
Ooh, okay.
Kind of wizardy.
Okay. I've narrowed it down to
uh,
2.
What's their origin story? What's their ethos?
I don't know.
What
Okay.
motivates them to be a
Before
superhero?
the amount of knowledge I had of this character before MCP was 0.
Oh,
Doesn't help.
And I
I
have
know it. I've
seen
got it.
some
I've got
Thor,
it.
some Thor movie. I don't know which one or how many.
Hey, no proper names.
It's not Thor.
You still can't say
You
Thor.
can't be like, you could name every Asgard character and be like, it's not this one, it's not this
Wait,
one,
but
it's not this
isn't
one.
Asgard not allowed either? Then he said the
Probably
Asgard
not,
is
but I was
fine.
gonna let it slide.
Okay.
We're learning as we go.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Does anyone want to commit to the bit and guess a character?
I think I know it, but
Okay. Well,
How
this is
many
a
points does he
cooperative
get?
thing, so just go for it.
okay, yeah. Oh, right, we're trying to win. We're not trying to torture Pat. Sorry. I think it's Enchantress. Is my guess.
Yeah, I'm
That-
doing
that
a
was-
great job. It's Enchantress.
That was also my guess after
Okay.
the.
I was like, it's
Ed-
Enchantress or Hela. Is like
Well,
who it
they're
is.
they
And
both
then when
are
he was like,
wizardy.
I knew this character is 0, and I know that Ragnarok's one of the only movies Pat's seen.
I've not seen Ragnarok.
Never mind. I don't know anything.
I saw. Okay, is Ragnarok the one?
It's the funny one.
I think I watched like the first 20 minutes of it. Because that's the one people say is good. That is the
That has Kate Blanchett
Yes.
as Hela,
right.
right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched
Yes,
like the first
yes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
I should finish it someday.
No, you
I
should.
believe in you, Pat.
Round
Make sure
2.
you mark Enchantress as.
Oh, how do I? Oh boy.
There's a drop down next to her in the alphabetical list.
What if
How many of
the
these do we do?
spreadsheet-
And did we
what if
get
the
points?
spreadsheet
Did
did
you get a
that?
point? Did Vince get a point?
We
You all
all
got a
got
point.
3 points.
We
It's
all
got a
cooperative with
point.
the 3 of us.
Let's go.
You're supposed to know. Okay,
Getting
new
carried.
character. This game is. I don't know anything about any of these fucking people.
What? You did every back of the box.
every
You
back of
know
the box. You're an
everything.
expert.
Yeah, you
okay.
probably.
From the time a given character's back of the box started to the time it ended, I retained basically nothing.
Yeah, I
I
believe
mean,
that.
that is
So-
why this is funny. Yes.
Yes, let alone a few years later.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've unfortunately had all of it seared into my mind as Nate found out when he tried to flip the tables on me, and I just like entered the limitless zone of Marvel Crisis Protocol characters.
Alice is just product descriptions of Marvel.
Yes.
It's fucked up.
Okay. Legitimately, I have nothing to say in stage 1. I don't know if I can say.
It's
So we're gonna. Yeah,
Abomination.
it's not Abomination.
Damn. Imagine though.
It would be cool. What do I know?
mean, okay.
I've also never heard of this person or MCP.
You are allowed to give us an incorrect backstory that gets us to guess the right person.
Yeah, what do you think this character's vibe
Okay.
is?
I think this person was like a professor of some, I don't know, physicsy thing at a fairly elite institution before they were, before something happened to them.
Moda.
Before they were
then
super powered, past tense.
They got really into robots or something. They may or may not have been into robots before. I don't really know.
I thought
And
I
the
knew until they
robots
got
may
into
have
robots.
a certain kind of
I have-
hatred of certain kinds of people.
But I
wouldn't
think
know
I
about
have a
that.
Oh,
guess
is
here.
it
Race.
Cassandra Nova?
No.
It- Okay, Nate, what are you feeling?
Well, hold on. Okay. I guess, yeah, we should lock our guesses in.
Yeah, we should get
Every
only one
round.
guess each round because otherwise
Oh,
we'll be
okay,
here.
sorry,
we could
sorry.
like really Gameosaurus Rex this.
I think it's Cassandra Nova because I think the only thing Pat knows about Cassandra Nova is that she's in the Sentinels affiliation.
But does she
and-
know that she makes racist robots? Like who else makes racist robots?
Well, I think he knows that
That
the
Sentinels
Sentinels
hate
are
mutants,
racist robots,
yeah.
and the only thing he knows about Cassandra Nova is that she's the only human in the Sentinels affiliation right now.
okay, I like
and
that
she
guess.
looks kind of professor-y because she's smart because she's
Well,
got
she's
a
got,
bald
like, the
head
coat and
Professor
scarf,
Xavier,
too. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
That's very
you know,
much
if you're
got a
associated
doctor.
with Sentinels, you're probably smart enough to know what a robot is. So that's
Okay. Yeah, that's our official guess.
Okay, well, okay, you have to tell me what your guess was.
I was going to guess that it was fucking Arnim Zola. Because he's
Okay.
also, could be a professor, could be a nerd. And then I
Yeah.
thought,
Before
maybe
an
this is
accident
just
where he got put
assuming-
into the robot suit.
yeah, well, you said
Yeah.
they
And
got
And he said
really
his name
into
is Doctor,
robots.
right? It's Arn. Oh no, it doesn't say Doctor.
It does not say doctor, but like clearly is a fucking
Yeah,
nerd,
yeah. He
right?
looks
Like the whole character
Heck man,
communicates.
Is he a
nerd.
scientific genius? One might say.
Yeah, exactly. But no, Cassandra's
Uh,
a way better guess.
It is Cassandra Nova.
Let's go.
That's all.
I don't know
Indeed,
much
all
about
I know
Marvel,
about
but I know
her
a lot
is
about Pat.
Yeah, hell
has-
yeah.
I guess I didn't say that she had tricks and/or traps, which I should
You're
have
not
said.
allowed to.
Yeah, that would be mechanics.
Yeah,
Well,
sorry.
hers,
she
hers
has
is not called tricks and traps.
I didn't listen during
illusions
the
and
rules,
pitfalls.
but I think you're not allowed to do
Illusions
mechanics
and
yet.
pitfalls. I hope he selects Mysterio next, and he's like, "This character has illusions and pitfalls."
So Alexander Bartholomew Bots, how many
Let's
points do we
go.
have?
6?
Whoa.
Is this first round twice?
Nate, you got his name
Seems
wrong.
too easy for you
What?
guys.
What's his name?
Alexander Bartholomew Box.
Oh yeah, that's right. I
Is
apologize.
it still
sir.
though? Because there's no box anymore.
I think it was like Schmidt or
Well,
something.
you're writing the back of the boxes now.
Is Alex's middle name really Bartholomew?
Oh,
I'm so mad. Obviously, it is not.
Yeah, it's Vivian.
It's Vivian. That's correct. It's Vivian.
Alexander Vivian Bots.
Obviously.
What is the score?
6, right?
Yes.
We got
Yes.
3 twice.
6-0. I don't have any
3
points.
plus 3 equals 6. So
well,
I've
it's
come to
it's
the
cooperative for
conclusion-
all of us, Pat. You want us to get it right. We want to get it
Yeah,
right.
No,
We're all
it's
You
trying.
competitive.
also have
It's
6
competitive.
points.
I think this next one's going to be rough,
Exciting.
unlike the prior two. I think this person is in some movies.
All right, nice.
Love that.
I assume I haven't seen him in any movies.
He's not a Guardians of the Galaxy character.
They just seem
Locked
cinematic.
down.
Yeah, they seem cinematic. I assume they appear in MCP the way they appear in movies, which is inconsistently.
Invent a backstory for us.
I'm
Yeah,
working on it.
I want more
He's
backstory.
also a scientist.
All right.
Okay.
And then he gets blasted into space.
Oh.
Maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally. He
Space
might have thought he was
scientist.
going to the grocery store, ended up in space.
Okay.
He's got stuff going on with his mind. It's really big.
Oh, is this MODOK maybe?
I don't. Is that your final answer?
No.
Also, you
what
would
else
have to
do
pick a
I know?
MODOK.
Yeah, there's 2 of them.
Fuck.
What I don't.
You want to go to step 2, guys?
Yeah, let's go to step 2.
Wait, I want to figure. I want to guess first.
I think I'm gonna give it away if I keep talking because I can't. I have nothing for this backstory.
I think it's one of the Doctor Stranges, but I don't know which one.
He's a space scientist?
I mean,
Not
well,
a magic
it says
guy?
doctor, and one of them is like his physical model's in space, kind of. So like I can
Yeah.
see. But now Pat looks very confused when I said that, so I don't think it's
Which one do you think is in space?
The
Supreme,
second one, Supreme.
like,
He's
jumping
like coming
through
out of a
or
portal.
whatever. Yeah, he's
I
space.
think
He's
that
in the
portal's
dark
just
dimension.
basement, but
even
okay.
even Pat knows he's in the dark
Yeah,
dimension.
Pat obviously knows. He's
Oh, yeah, he's in Dormammu.
Your theory about him being in space is ridiculous, laughable on its face.
Clearly, I was
Let's go to the
wrong.
next one. I think it's
now
MODOK
that
still,
we've
but-
said the word space a lot,
Uh-huh.
I'm realizing that I might have done a bad thing.
He was sent to Earth.
He's just a character that can carry the space stone. Must have been to space.
Well, actually, no. Doctor Strange is almost certainly wrong because I think Pat probably has, against his will, seen Doctor Strange in a movie. So,
Which movie do you think I've seen Doctor Strange in?
one of the Avengers that he's in.
I still think it's Thor Ragnarok, but
I don't think I've seen anything other than the first Avengers movie.
I think Doctor Strange is in that, isn't he?
That's-
No.
Oh, he isn't. Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay, part 2.
Yeah.
All right.
How it plays with the space gem.
Okay, so it's like Ma, Thanos.
it's
Ma
prob-
is kind of doctor.
Ma was one of my other early picks because I think Ma seems like someone that Pat would mistake for like a mutated scientist, but it might also just be Thanos, I guess.
It's
It's
what?
definitely not Thanos because he's
It's not Thanos. It's not Loki.
Is there
it's a-
another space gem man?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think it is.
Okay, we might have been talking about gymnastics. You never know. It might be somebody who feels like they should have the space gem.
Are you trying to help us anymore?
I don't know.
I
what
think
I'm
we
saying.
should lock in Ebony Maw.
Yeah, I'm game. Let's lock in Ebony Maw.
Yeah.
Are you telling me he's not a scientist?
He's
No.
a space alien. He was never rocketed into space while going to
a
the grocery
magic
store.
space
He just
alien.
looks
I
like that.
assume everyone starts on Earth. Okay.
No, Ebony Maw, I regret to inform you, has always looked like that. He never was just a guy. He
Why?
just-
Hey, we didn't make it to part 3. I don't know what he looks like. I just know he has the space gem, and I realized that I just associate the word space with Ebony Maw because everyone says space maw.
he comes from space.
He is
just
from
does
outer
come- he
space.
comes
He just
He's
was
an
space.
alien.
sent to space while going to the bodega.
Science
Like,
Well,
shot into space.
I guess we don't know. He could have been on like a Martian on his way to the Martian bodega.
the Martian bodega. That's
Right.
right. He could have been
And then get shot into space. So
getting a Martian bagel sandwich, chopping it up with his Martian Afghan.
I could go for a
bodega
Martian
owner who
bagel
he is
sandwich
friends
right
with.
now.
All right, I have to mark Ebony Maw as true.
Incredible.
So we got 2 points for that. So we got
yeah.
8.
Yeah,
Is
Nice.
Is
I think you win.
Pat's long dark night over?
for today.
Yeah.
Why are there 2 columns in this spread? Oh, I figured it out. Okay.
What?
Okay.
Oh.
My long dark nightmare. Almost as if I was in space hanging out with Ebony Maw.
All right. So next on the agenda, we have will people finally stop being easily afraid of pay to flips?
No, we did
We
Now
kinda
that they're
talked
all
about
normal
that.
and easy, we covered that, I think.
Yeah.
I'm still afraid.
we have not. We haven't assuaged Pat's fears.
Now
but we
that
did our
they're
best.
all normal and
It's fine.
easy
I
to
haven't
play
played
for
it.
babies.
Huh?
Bots, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is Midnight Suns bad now?
No.
Okay.
Are they the best
Um,
thing in the game right now?
Maybe. Probably.
You had them at the
Maybe.
top of your tier list, I believe.
Yeah, I believe in my boys, but I had a follow up question for you, which you answered, but I want you to answer on air. Which
Yeah,
is, do
yeah,
people-
please.
Do people think Midnight? Like, was this motivated by you seeing people saying Midnight Suns were bad now?
No. So this was
I-
motivated by just real quick, like
Yeah.
one, I haven't seen anyone talking about Midnight Suns one way or the other. It's been like
Let me show
very
you
quiet.
my DM with Schmid.
Oh, sure. I mean, fucking Schmidt just post that shit in hot strats instead. Like, I mean, I guess part of the problem is that like a lot of the Midnight Suns conversation is taken up by people having to unfortunately figure out that Elsa is bad.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of a lot of the conversation right now. But I haven't seen a bunch of people talking about them. And then it was just a thought in my head of like, really the question I asked you is like, do you think Midnight Suns is worse if iHulk is less good at the new Crisis and the new meta? Right? Because you were talking going into LVO that you played a lot of iHulk, right? And the game getting wider is not necessarily good for him. I don't think it's a disaster, but it's not good for him. And I do think he lost some Crisis that he liked playing.
Yeah, I'm not totally okay. So I think if the game, I think if the game is wider in general, like more people that are not Midnight Suns are playing wider, that's fine. Like I don't think that that's actually bad for Immortal Hulk. I think the thing, and I mean you're also referring to this. I think you're referring to both concepts. If I end up thinking that the Crisis Pack as it is requires wideness, even if you are as mobile as Blade Midnight Suns is, then that would be worse for iHulk because you have to you have to play iHulk less to play wider. But I think the most correct answer I can give to that question is I'm not 100% sure yet. I think that like some stuff left that iHulk and Midnight Suns likes, but I also think two things. One, Thanos being nerfed is huge for Midnight Suns because Thanos is like probably the best model in the game at taking a stalemate that your opponent is trying to set up and being like, actually, this is not a stalemate.
Yeah.
you're over here and I'm killing you. And so the fact that I'm sorry, not stalemate, standoff. I said stalemate, I meant standoff. That Thanos being worse and also Thor 2 being worse, but especially Thanos being worse, I think is good for Midnight Suns.
Okay.
And some stuff left that we like crisis wise, but I also think that if you look at the spread of crises in general, there's more things that are on the midline on turn 1 and that in general is good for Midnight Suns. And I like the fact that I can play 2 D-shaped extracts now. That
Okay.
like the fact that I can run both hammers and samples, I think is really really good for Midnight Suns. So, um, I think I really just don't feel like I have enough information to tell that for sure, but I'm kind of optimistic about them. I think that they don't. I think that it's possible that it's either equal or slightly better for Midnight Suns than it used to be. I do think, and I'm sure a lot of people. I don't personally care about this, but I think a lot of people will care about this. I don't think the new Crisis Pack has changed anything about what is good to play in Midnight Suns. Like, I don't think
Okay.
it's like
Yeah.
made Elsa really good or like made
Not putting Moon
uh
Knight in there.
yeah, well, I mean, I even think Moon Knight is okay. I don't like him, but I think he's like strength wise okay. But I don't think he
Sure.
got any better. Like I
Yeah.
don't think that
Mhm.
there we're like suddenly windmill slamming Moon Knight or Frankenstein or Strange One in there for sure. Actually, of the 3 that I just listed, I think the one I'm most excited about is Strange One, which is kind of fucked up. But but like I think that there's like I really would like a 6, and I'm not as in love with Clocks Mackenzie as I used to be. And I think the correct choice is actually Space Maw. But I think that there's a chance that it's that I should be trying Soul Strange, which is funny. But probably not. But but yeah, I just don't think they've changed that much, honestly. What you're playing,
Okay.
I think they should pick up some of the new crises, and I think that's fine. And I think that if there is a way forward for them continuing to be very extremely good, it's through slamming in the D shapes and kind of abusing that. Um, and yeah, I mean, like so much, like you said, so much of what people talk about in public about Midnight Suns is like trying to make Elsa work, which I just don't care about. I just don't think it's worth it ever to be not Blade, and I don't really think the playstyle has changed all that much. So that's my take on Midnight Suns.
God, the opinion of Midnight Suns has come so far in the last like 6 months where people are like, God, Blade, what a sad loser. And now they're like, God, could they even print a leader that would make them not play Blade?
No. They could print a leader that would make me like. I mean, so I Elsa is not only worse than Blade, which she is, but also didn't do any of the things that I think you would want to make an off leader. Like I think you
She's
could
just too
make a
similar
model.
to Blade, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think you could make a model that's exciting as an off model for Blade. That isn't like crazy broken either. Like I'm
Yeah.
not talking about they just put Malekith in Midnight Suns, but like
Make him a 4/3.
yeah, but like the fact that Elsa has like almost exactly the same defensive profile. I say almost so that people don't say, "Aha, it's what about the stone?" But like almost exactly the same,
It's the same.
and
Yeah.
is the same threat value,
Mhm.
and replaces bump with a leadership that costs power and is not as good at bump. Like all of those things are like huge whiffs. Like if she was a 3 or a 5 and was appropriately strong to those threat values, or if her leadership generated power instead of costing power or something like that, or
Mhm.
like extended range in some other way.
Yeah, like if she
that's
had Goblin's leadership or something. Like,
yeah, totally. Like it's sort of the difference between like Loki 2 and Jane. Like
yeah.
how, like sometimes you don't want to be paying for Loki 2 all the time. And so Jane is really exciting in that way. Like
Mhm.
I think that would have been nice, but that's just not what we got. I mean, and it's fine. I mean, Blade is like an extremely, extremely fun model to play. Like his leadership is, and he's fun sometimes, but mostly his leadership is. So I'm not heartbroken about it. And Midnight Suns will continue to be fine. They will just continue to be fine without Elsa, in my
It
opinion.
is.
So-
Yeah. I mean, I do think there's such a weird amount of overlap between Elsa and Blade.
Yeah,
In a
exactly.
way that they generally seem to do much better about when putting in other leaders. Like I'm trying to think of 2 other leaders that have this kind of same problem.
I th-
And like the closest I can come up with is Shadowlands and MODOK 2.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good
But
call.
even they are like, wait, like one's got grunts, right? One is a once per turn leadership, the other one isn't. So like rapid fire is a way bigger difference from one than the other,
Mhm.
right?
One is
of them
purely
throws
offensive,
terrain,
the
one
other
doesn't.
it has a
Yeah,
defensive
yep.
leadership, right? Like
But that's
Yeah,
the closest
also-
I can get to Blade
Mhm.
and Elsa.
Yeah, I mean the two leaderships are very different. It's just that the
Yes.
characters are the same. Like Shadowlands and MODOK are pretty different models. Like if you took
Yes,
both of their
yeah.
leaderships away, they kind of do totally different things. But
Yeah.
I mean, not totally different, but they do pretty
They're-
different things.
Yeah.
And like yeah, like I was before Elsa came out, I was hoping that she would be as different from Blade as like Steve and Sam are, you know,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
they're not. That would be like exciting, and I think it would. That's why I haven't. I like haven't even tested Elsa because it's so easy to compare Elsa and Blade and see that Blade is obviously better in basically
Yeah.
every way. So
Uh,
I don't know.
As a
It is
thought
what it is.
exercise, Alex, and I
Yeah.
think this, I don't want to like totally disprove everything you just said, but
I don't think you're
if
gonna.
you swapped their leaderships, which one would you play?
I would play Elsa, but I think that would
Okay.
be you would you
You
would
think
be
it is
ending
a
up with a
straight downgrade if you just swap their leaderships and play Elsa? That that's a
yeah.
straight
I
downgrade
would think it.
over
I mean,
Blade with the current leadership?
like you know, if you did that, there would probably be circumstances where literally Elsa did something better than what Blade would
Mhm.
have done in that circumstance. I think that's possible, but I still think it would be a downgrade. Like if it was just, like if you just told me you don't have Blade anymore, you have Elsa but with bump, I would think Midnight Suns got worse. So
Okay.
I don't know if I agree with that.
really,
So like, I don't know. It's at that point there's I think interesting differences
yeah,
because like one of the things that I think is a bit of the tension with Blade is that like he does one of the reasons why people say Blade sucks for a long time is he very much wants to like get up in the middle of a brawl, but that can cost you your leadership, right?
Yeah.
Where like Elsa having run and gun plus bump means your leadership is as safe as it possibly can be.
Yeah.
Like she can do a lot of yo-yoing while putting out attacks. And like I think kind of interesting attacks to set up your other models, right? Like being able to have an incinerate range 4 gun that can touch people from a long way away and then back up in multiple different ways, I think is interestingly enough different that I'm not convinced that Blade with bump is better than Elsa with bump. I think it's actually pretty close. I think your just play pattern is very different at that point.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
sorry, I think I agree, mostly just because I think that like on a turn by turn basis, I think Elsa more often contributes significantly, but when Blade contributes, he contributes larger,
Yeah.
if that makes
mean,
sense.
Yeah.
Like Blade can point at a thing and in a good situation can go, that thing's dead.
Yes.
And that's not a thing that Elsa does, but
That's
Elsa
true.
does contribute every turn, which Blade does not.
I guess what I was gonna say is that I think if you let me play both, but just with bump, like literally, I could put Blade and Elsa in the same roster, and they both
Yeah.
had only bump as their leadership. I
Yeah.
think I would play Elsa sometime. I
Sure.
think that's
Yeah, of
true,
course.
but I
Yeah.
don't agree that she would be like. But if I have to choose between those two models, I would still choose Blade because I think
Okay.
that like you're saying that he wants to get all up in the mix, and I think that's kind of a trap that Blade players let themselves fall into.
For sure.
I think
Yeah.
I think you actually
I think he was describing a
with
trap when he
Blade.
said it.
What'd you say? Sorry.
I think he was describing a trap when he said it.
Well, right, but I guess what I'm saying is that like the thing that you're talking about Elsa yo-yoing, I think you actually are trying to do that with Blade pretty much all the time too. And Blade
but
is
she-
worse as it. Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
she goes
okay.
farther, but he does a lot more damage before leaving. Like a lot more. Like I think I think you were maybe underestimating the difference between Blade and Elsa's damage output. Now,
No.
that
So
said,
Yeah, go ahead.
there are times where Blade does almost nothing, like against
Mhm.
bleed immune models and stuff like that, or models that happen to have extremely high Mystic defenses, like Ultron 2. Like Ultron 2 is a great example because he's both bleed immune and has extremely high Mystic defense. And then of course you would rather be attacking him with Elsa, though really you would rather just be surrendering. But I think that like the I think that I don't know. I still think even if they both have bump, I would choose Blade if forced to. But then I would have if they both existed, I would have this weird double leadership thing where they have the
Yeah.
same leadership. But yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we don't have to keep arguing about Blade too long, but like, yes, I see what you're saying with like the turns where he gets to do like builder, spender, leave. He gets to do an incredible amount of damage and gets to yo-yo, right? And those
Yeah.
turns rule. I agree. to get those turns, he has to spend a turn exposed to danger. Right? It's very rare that he can bump in Blade Dampier out without having been close enough that people can fuck with him before that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of disagree with that because I think you semi frequently. Well, so he really doesn't like, and this is actually a way in which the new crises might have changed things a little bit for him and in his favor in a way that like I just haven't. I can't really confirm yet because I haven't played enough games. But the fact that you almost that they're not really on E shapes anymore means that the games are like more spread out in general, like a little bit more spread out, like and
Yeah.
that's kind of what Blade wants, because Blade really is extremely vulnerable in like a big pile of stuff.
Yes.
But if it's like 2v2 and one of your two is Blade, he's awesome. And like one of the things that he's really good at is like bumping into range of a single builder and then seeing how much damage that does and either leaving or spendering or sieging and then leaving or something like that. And like
yeah, totally.
I think that is enough higher damage than Elsa that the fact that Elsa will be farther away is mitigated, in my opinion. So,
well, I also just think that like she can start from farther away, which means she
Definitely
gets
true,
more
yeah.
targets.
Yeah.
Right. Where if Blade gets stuck on a bad side in a bad matchup, but wait, hey, this doesn't fucking matter because Elsa doesn't have bump.
Yeah, and
yeah,
therefore
also.
she's bad.
It might also be my philosophical reluctance to make 5-die physical attacks that don't have any dice fixing,
Sure.
which just
It
shows
has crit incinerate. That's like dice fixing.
Okay, it has incinerate. You can't get it before the attack, and you have to roll wild on your first attack. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I guess. Anyway,
no, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I think people. I have no idea what other people other than me and Schmidt think about Midnight Suns, but I think that I'm relatively optimistic.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Okay, so I think that with the new crisis, the overall speed of the game has increased.
Yeah.
The like vast majority of games I've played are ending on turn 4. A couple of them will go to turn 5. I have never seen turn 6.
Yeah.
I'm curious, I want to ask like other attrition players, but we don't really have any, like nobody on this podcast was the people trying to just play the slowest possible shit.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what? I guess
I kind of was. I mean, like, yeah. I'm not anymore. But
yeah, like you immediately gave up on that plan. So
yeah, because it's very obvious it don't work.
Do you think the speed of the game going up is good, bad, or neutral for Midnight Suns?
I think it's good if it's due to scenario play. Like if it's because things are scoring out on turn 4. I think that's okay. And I think that might mean that I do have that like the playstyle has to be adjusted slightly. Like I've been thinking about putting Black Cat in my list. And like which is not something that I ever thought was necessary before the crisis change. And like looking at the crises and thinking about how like the first 2 turns play out, I've been wondering about that. And it definitely means I need to keep testing like Man-Thing and stuff like that. But scoring too fast, I think, is something that Midnight Suns can deal with. If games are ever ending on turn 4 because of attrition, either because of a little tabling or because you only have like one model left, so you just have to watch the game end. That is bad for Midnight Suns because I think that like the way
it's bad for the game, dude.
Well, sure, yeah, but I mean, like what I'm saying is, I guess like I don't
left that meta.
I don't think like the amount of damage that I'm dealing as Midnight Suns is kind of right now with the list I play, which does a lot of Eye Hulk and also has Red Skull 2 and stuff, is I think about as much damage as Midnight Suns can do. So like I think there's not like I can't crank that lever any further right now. And so if I needed to, that would suck. Like I don't think I would be able to keep up with that. And like that's sort of how like playing against Cabal felt in the previous meta. Like when Thanos is like I can't stay at arm's reach from Thanos because he's
Nope.
Thanos, and I cannot keep up with the damage that Thanos, Zemo, and Red Skull 3 do. Like and then whatever the fuck else they add to that. Like I can try, and sometimes the dice let me do that, but like realistically, on average, I just don't do as much damage as they do. So then I'm stuck in a shitty matchup. So if there were more matchups like that, that would suck. But if it's scenario people, I think with Voodoo and maybe with Black Cat and certainly with some other stuff, you can do it. So yeah.
All right, Pat. Are Avengers bad now?
Well, I've played one game with the new crises. It was against Vince. It ended on turn 3. And it wasn't because I won.
Well, didn't you get kind of deadline memed on? That
Yeah.
just, you gotta happen.
But like, I don't know. I just don't know. The fact that the Hulk stonks are up seems good.
Definitely. As a Hulk enjoyer.
Yeah, I enjoy Hulk. It's one of the very few models I've painted.
It's one of the very few models I haven't.
What else? I don't know. The pay to flip thing, I'm a little apprehensive about. Like I guess okay. I'm into the shapes coming in a little bit. Like I think there were a lot of spots before where I was like trying to make the consolidate so before it felt like there were E's and there were not E's and like there was nothing there wasn't a lot
E's
in
and
between.
D's.
Yeah. And then like, sometimes you'd get a B and you were like, well, the things on one half can be close to each other, but you're never going between the two, right? So like having, more sword but rotated size things is like interesting. Especially for a Hulk, as we were talking about. But I don't know. I like saying Macron. I don't think I play the scenario. I like talking about it.
What does the sword? You just said you like. Oh, but you wouldn't. Yeah. No, you don't.
If you tell me that, I will believe you.
No, I know. I think I misunderstood what you said, but no, I don't think you should be packing it.
I think I could look at my list, but I think I'm only playing one new scenario, and I think it's the Fisk-esque one, maybe. One of the two wedding situations.
No, Unexpected's the extract.
Damn it! I went for it. Party. He's playing party.
I might be playing party. Yeah, I don't know. I just need to play the game, and you mentioned earlier that like the new crises seem good, but in a boring way.
Yeah.
That sort of I think I'm there with you. Like I didn't look at any of them and go like, man, these seem nuts. And I think the ones that I did see and sort of had the most feelings about are not the ones that ended up in the Challenger doc, or the Challenger timeline. I might confuse people if I say that.
Yeah.
And I'm not playing any Marvel anytime soon in a competitive way. So it's like
Adepticon's in 2 weeks.
I'm not going to Adepticon.
You live next to Adepticon.
I am unfortunately not going to Adepticon. I
unfortunately don't live next to it anymore.
Have some
more next to it than I do.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. This used to be a walkable neighborhood between us and Adepticon, and now it is not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Adepticon is probably in a much more walkable place, hopefully. But
seems to be that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So next year will be great for the Marvel Worlds at Adepticon. But I don't have a lot of reason to like be going hard.
Sure. You got
the
some
Juicy
time before
League did not go well. Yeah. Well, and I'm not gonna like when Carl was like asking about a second judge, I was almost like, get Nate the fuck into CarlCon and let me judge. I will. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not going to change my list because I'm okay. The only thing I'm thinking about doing, and it depends on me wanting to play the game, which is a bit of a bar, is to do some Gladiator business in Steve 1.
Yeah.
Only because I think it would be funny to play like Okoye and Gladiator. If I, at like 20 or wherever I'm actually legally allowed to do that. Somebody, I think it might have even been bots, pitched me on like, a 17, I think, that included a Luke Cage and a Gladiator.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I'm
Um,
pretty high on Gladiator. I mean, I think.
really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to commit to like I just haven't played enough to know
Don't
exactly
be a
where I
coward. Commit.
Well, no. Just commit to like specific suggestions. Like I will commit to that. I think Gladiator's
Okay.
really good.
All right.
I just don't feel like I have a wide enough knowledge pool of the meta right now to know exactly where I think he should be played. But like I think he's a really strong model. I think
Huh.
top lists will involve him. I think he will be like played and be doing well at squad goals, for example. I think
Interesting.
that's far enough in the
Interesting.
future that people.
I think
test him
That's
out.
so different from my opinion of Gladiator.
yeah.
I mean, I don't
I'm-
think it's going to be in everything. Like, I'm not playing in
Right.
Midnight Suns, and I don't think he should be, to be clear. But like, I don't think he's going to be like, I don't think he's going to be as good as pre-nerf Thor 2, where like, if you were struggling to put a 6 threat model, it should just always be Thor 2. I don't think that's true.
I guess
with
I
Gladiator.
forgot how much health he has.
He has a lot of health. I'm with you, boss. That I think Gladiator is. I think he's a really interesting 6 threat in that your list needs to do some stuff for him, and
Yeah.
then if it can
Mhm.
provide these things to him, then he becomes very good, right? Which is like potentially a compelling difference to Hulk, who I think you can stick in any goddamn list,
Yeah,
and he'll
that's
be
true.
fine. Like obviously, like protecting Hulk a bit is cool and good, right? Like Hulk
Mhm.
will take some help, but you can stick that man in literally any list in the game, and he will do fine, right?
Yeah.
Like there's better Hulks and worse ones, but he will do fine. Whereas Gladiator, I think, is the opposite, where like he needs some stuff that your list provides, like some sort of protection. I think is really important, and I think that can take a bunch of different forms. Obviously, Bodyguard is the most straightforward one, and then obviously Steve 1 is also incredible for him to let him charge turn 1, so the tokens start rolling early, and you can protect the tokens. Incredible. But like I know, I watched a game of him in Convocation where he
Yeah.
was using the bump to keep himself from getting
I think
double
he's
tapped.
really good in Convocation. Like,
Yeah.
my top 2. I mean, you just said, and
Yes.
this is not a hot take, but those are my top 2 affiliations that I would definitely be trying him in as
Yes,
Avengers and
100%.
for sure.
Because I like he does another thing too for Convocation of getting rid of terrain for them, which is always the thing they're looking for, right?
Mhm.
I am waffling on trying him in X-Men. I think there's like pros and cons to that, where like the terrain throw is really good for us. I do think so. My number one Gladiator tip, if you want to get good games of Gladiator, is you
Listening.
have to play him like he's in Storm and try very hard to never pick up an extract.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The longer your
that's-
game can go without him having to commit to holding something is great, because then your opponent has to decide, do I try to get the VPs from you or do I try to get the confidence from you? Right. And
Yeah.
making them choose between those two things, I think, is a very big deal. And so, like,
Yeah.
okay, well, let's double benefit in Storm, because then he can also hop around a bunch. But I don't know if he needs the mobility, and like hopping him on turn 1 is okay. It's not good, but it's not crazy or anything. So, like, I'm kind of waffling on that. But I think it has the potential to be very scary in Steve 1.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the hardest thing to like quantify about his strength is like how much Gladiator homework does your opponent have to do to like manage the confidence tokens?
So that's pretty much exactly what I was going to say. Is that like when he came out and like when people saw him for the first time, everybody was saying, including me, that like, there are some you just have to prepare for him and have like
Mhm.
some attacks ready to hit him. And I think that's true, as in you should do that if you think you're going to see Gladiator. But I think that advice is kind of flippantly applied. Like I think that they're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, just throw a couple nonsense attacks into him," is not actually like actionable advice at all points of the game. And
Yes.
there's, like he's like, okay, if you throw a 5-die attack into him, he's more likely than not to take damage. But if
Mhm.
you're doing that only to remove the tokens and then you whiff, you lose. So like, and like I think because you've spent an action that didn't do the thing you wanted, and the thing you wanted wasn't even a gigantic deal in the first place, right? And so, especially if, as Nate's saying, he's not holding an extract. So like, I think there's like, there probably are some matchups where he's just straight up bad, because
Mhm.
that
Yeah, like
list
Spider Foes?
that list happens to be very good at taking away the confidence tokens or slowing him down in other ways.
Yeah.
But I think those matchups are not actually that common. Like it's not like
Mhm.
everybody can do that. And there are some matchups where even throwing one attack into him when the only purpose of doing that is to get a confidence token or two off of him is actually kind of a huge cost. It's like kind of a huge pain in the ass, even if he doesn't have a bodyguard. And then if he does have a bodyguard, you're just like, well, I'm not doing that. So I think that there's situations where his snowball gets going extremely fast, and then he's just totally dominant. So again, I don't think he's like the best model in the game or like going to be in every class or
No.
something. But I think he's really strong where he's
Yeah.
strong. So
Yeah, and I think he has some problems that will keep him from being like the best thing in the game, and that like any turn where his charge does 0 damage, which especially can't happen early. Like early, it's just a 6-die attack, right? So that is Thor 1 missing his charge, a thing we all know about. Losing out on the 2 confidence tokens there is a big deal.
yeah,
Right? And then all of his attacks only do damage unless you get wilds, right? He has no guaranteed effects besides a terrain throw, not even a character throw, a terrain throw. So he is a very dicey character, but also he just like will roll a shit. You know, if the snowball gets going, he rolls so many dice that it will be fine. But I think those are the things that will like keep him from taking over
I
and
also
keep him
think
from
that
being universal.
makes him kind of interesting in Steve 3 as well.
yeah, I
Okay.
can see that for sure.
Depends on how
Alright.
much the character is. It depends on what the like power level of the character or the power access the character actually ends up having.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
No, I
paying 1
think
power to
Steve 3 is a good call.
force the 2 confidence tokens through,
Mhm.
I think can be a huge deal. And
Totally.
can really get him going. And then like if your charge also builds 3, spending it on an I beam rather than a throw can be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, just thinking about like dealing with him as Midnight Suns, like the thing I was talking about like not really having attacks that are actually good for getting rid of confidence tokens is extremely
Yeah.
real in Midnight Suns. Like
Yes.
the only really the attacks in like your average or my average anyway Midnight Suns list that I would be willing to throw at that just for the sake of trying to get confidence tokens out are like Blade's Glaives, and those are just a coin flip to deal damage. Like I could just whiff every single one of those I throw at him, and
Yeah,
like
but
go ahead.
aren't there going to be like turns where he's like standing on an objective and you're just going to go punch him with Eye Hulk, and Eye Hulk's going to punch him 1 time and hit the wild, and he's going to lose 2 confidence tokens?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, like, I think,
And
but
you're
on the
going to get
flip
him off
side
the
of that,
point?
like, ideally, the person playing Gladiator would try to avoid that. And there are things, so like, on the downside, like, if you're playing a lot of Man Thing is really rough into Gladiator because his survivability does not stop confidence tokens. Like, the thing that Man Thing is good at is taking damage and then activating a healing factor. And if your survivability is healing factor, you really don't want to see Gladiator because Gladiator likes the fact that you probably have lower defense dice. Like Man Thing is like a 3/3/4 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that fucking sucks. And then also if Gladiator gets going, I stop me if you've heard this one before, my co-hosts and listeners. Midnight Suns do not like energy attacks. And
They sure
so
don't.
Gladiator will not be using I-Beam at the start of the game. But if Gladiator has like 3 or 4 confidence tokens, I-Beam will end the game. And I mean a beam of 8-die energy beam that is range 4 that incinerates Midnight Suns characters is fucked up.
What about a
hate it.
10-die beam?
Well, yeah, I mean, it can be as bad as a 10-die beam. I think you like when you're talking about Gladiator most of the time, you shouldn't
Yes.
really be thinking about the 5 token thing because, like,
No,
ideally
it should
that's
be
not
2 to
happening
3
often.
tokens, I think is.
Or it's
I
not
think you're
it's not happening
playing-
until he's already won. But like,
Yeah.
I think if you're playing Gladiator and you get to make an attack with 3 confidence tokens, you're supremely happy.
really,
Yes.
I think that's actually pretty likely. Like he won't spend the entire game with 3 confidence tokens, but I think 3 confidence tokens is super achievable for him most games.
There's
For,
lots
like,
of like
part of the game.
incidental damage. I think the
I
thing
th-
that actually interests me about him specifically is just that I think he's overstated. Like his
Well,
raw
right.
number, like he has like 1 more defense die than he probably would, and he has like 1 or 2 more hit points than he probably would.
I agree with you on health. I do not agree on defense. He is a 6 threat.
He's a 4/5/4.
He's a 6 threat.
Yeah, I mean he's got 1 die more than Thor, too. Like not 1 die across the board, 1 single die out of all
Yeah.
of those things. But yeah,
I agree that health is a lot, but like
Mhm.
all he is he has no defensive tech.
Yeah,
He has
that's
no
true.
DR. He has no reroll. He has every other
There's
6
no
threat. Even their
counterattack. He has
5
no
threat
nothing.
has something. Yeah. So like I think the health is there's an argument to be overstated. I think everything else on him is pretty fairly statted. And I also want to say so I think it's very likely his second action of the turn will have 3 confidence tokens. I think it will be rare that he starts an activation with 3 confidence tokens.
Yeah, if he starts an
sometimes
activation with
there's
3 confidence tokens, he's like over the moon.
I think that will happen once a game. Like he'll
Okay,
have
yeah.
a
I
full
think once a
activation
game,
that's
yeah, for
like,
sure.
You
But
start
yeah,
with 3
starting with 1, charging, getting 2.
No.
and
Starting
then
with
spending.
3,
Yeah.
charging, and then maybe spentering with 5.
I mean, I think that will happen once a game. I think
Yeah.
most turns he'll start with 0 or 1 and get, he'll do like a 6 die, 8 die, and then you try to build up. And if he starts with 3, he's going to have an incredible turn. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah. He is.
Why are we printing characters that require me to have more dice than the typical player owns?
So they can sell you more dice.
Oh,
Right.
okay. You're right.
I think the typical player owns more than 10 dice.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I
Really?
think the typical player that you interact with at big events has more than 10 dice, but I don't think that's the typical player.
The typical player has a
Okay.
core set
Mm,
as the only source of dice that they have. I guess maybe
I think the
maybe I'm
typical player
underestimating
has
how much spare
bought some
dice sells.
third-party dice that are abhorrent.
that actually is my experience at game night. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
What?
we-
I think
One
most
here
people
has
have
narrative
either
dice.
bought 2 core sets or bought some third-party dice.
Yeah, that's why Gladiator is bad for the meta, because he's more likely to cause people to use custom dice because they have core set
God.
dice, and then when he starts spendering with tokens, he's like, I have to break out the dice with there's just like a novel on the crit face.
Well, at least the new GT dice are good, so maybe people will be inclined to use those when they go to all the GTs throughout this
It's
great
fucked up
nation.
that they're giving out yellow dice. Yellow's my color. Give me the yellow dice.
Don't you
You
have
should
some of them?
Go to the GT.
No, I didn't get any.
You didn't get any?
No.
Okay. What?
I didn't play in the prize pool.
Oh,
He played in the last chance,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I played in the
yeah.
competitive event, not the prize event.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I say that, but like, like three of the top 4 of the finals were in the GT. So, well, it's just not me. And I frauded my way to the top.
Well, go to Adepticon and get some dice.
Just big time your way in there.
I mean, I'm probably gonna go to Adepticon for a day to say hi to people, but I probably will not be allowed to play in any events that day. So I will not be winning the world championship this year. Sorry to my fans. All right, have we been a podcast, or are we?
Oh,
continuing
can
to be a
I-
podcast?
I just say a thing that nobody cares about but me, but I just want
Yes.
to put this out there.
That's
so
what we're
people
here
can be
for.
mad
No,
at
you
me.
can't.
Yeah,
We've been
that's
a
why we have
size
a
3 talk.
Okay. Timelines at Adepticon.
Oh
Right?
boy.
They're
Okay.
doing the Timelines event for 2015, the last one for this packet
premier
before they do a new
competitive
packet. Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
this is the last one for a packet that nobody's. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Everyone
haven't seen
knows
anyone talk about it at all.
I am not interested in playing in timelines. I have a bunch of quibbles with the format. That said, everyone being mad that timelines is not using the new crisis is a fake fan of timelines.
Okay, tell me more.
Finally, somebody says it.
Because
So,
the
like-
list was curated for the old crises.
Yeah, like that list of characters is theoretically
Okay.
curated to play on a certain set of crisis.
Yeah, I
It's
don't believe that at all.
supposed to
But I'm with
be-
you.
I mean, I don't believe it, but you're a fake fan of the concept. Like,
Okay.
and it's supposed to be a thing that is static that you can plan around, right? Like that list was more or less set in stone with new releases go on it, but otherwise that list doesn't change. And you're supposed to focus on this subset of the game for a period of time. And there's not really other timelines of it. Like you just were about to say, right? Like this is the last and first time that this packet is getting used. So like if they put the new crisis in it, the whole point of the packet existing ahead of time is moot. So like if you're not playing the event because it doesn't have the new crisis, you're a fake fan.
Okay.
Based.
Okay.
Well, hold on.
Devil's
That's-
advocate hat on time. Here we go.
Wow.
Isn't it possible to like a thing for what it actually is, not what it says it is?
That doesn't sound real. To
Absolutely
me,
not.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Not timelines.
Fucking, I've been parried.
That doesn't sound like
Okay,
anything
well,
I
no.
personally
What-
would
I mean-
do. I don't want to judge other people's, lifestyles, but
What's the difference to you then? What do you
Okay,
mean?
so
someone
like, what
likes
if I'm
timelines?
actually achieving true mastery? So your argument is that like the designer intention is what timelines is.
Yes.
And I think the people that like timelines just kind of like playing a lower power format that's less practiced by the tryhards, and that therefore they have a better shot in being a more casual player that has a large collection. And they want to play the new cool shit. And like Timelines has always allowed all the new cool shit. Like even when Timelines is only supposed to have one legal character, if they accidentally release a character that is already in Timelines, the character is legal in Timelines, breaking the fiction of Timelines.
Yeah, but that's only been true for models, not crises. But
Correct,
yes.
but this is also the first time
This is-
crises are
I know.
changing during it.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, like, that technically broke the promise of Timelines. Like, I think it's super dumb for them not
Wait,
to.
How
allow.
does that break the promise of timelines?
The promise of Timelines is that it is a timeline,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
right? So therefore, two characters with the same alias can't exist on that timeline.
Oh, yes, I agree with that breaks. Okay.
But then when they released the third
Yeah.
Black Panther, there were then two legal Black Panthers in Timelines
Yes.
because the new stuff is always legal.
Yeah, so I do think
So,
there's probably
like-
a lot of people who do in fact like timelines for what it is, which is very different than what they said it was going to be. Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, exactly. So like the people, they're not fake fan. They're like, just because the Mets say they're going to be a World Series team every year and then never make it to the playoffs
Let's
doesn't
go Mets,
mean
baby,
that
love the
the people that love the Mets aren't fake
the
fans. They don't tear New York City down for not.
No, you've swung me back, Vince. I think that's correct. I think that's correct about Mets fans. New York should burn.
It seems dangerous.
Okay, I'm good
Um,
now. Thank you.
All right, are we talking about my dumb CS list, or is everybody just got to wait for the video?
They gotta wait for the video.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
I have one more question to ask our
Hmm.
fans though, and then we can sign off. I
in the
forgot to
com-
grocery. Well, I didn't really forget to grocery shop. I chose to play Valorant instead of grocery shopping today. Should I order Thai tonight? I've been really craving pad Thai, and if so, should I get crab rangoon with it? I've been trying to limit the dairy recently, but I love crab rangoon. So write in, let us know, and I'll implement in like a week when this goes up. I'll implement your advice. Thank you to the listeners.
Excellent.
Excellent.
What a
Maybe
call
I
to
should have
action,
Thai.
Alex.
Yeah.
As we
That's what you're supposed to do. I've been trained as a marketer.
to. Like, share, subscribe, and comment about
Yeah, exactly.
Alex's
My
should
Thai
you order
food
Thai?
order. Yeah, it's irresponsible to order a taxi for my pad Thai, but I might do it this one time.
All right, I think with that we've been a size 3 taco truck. Ba-da-ba-ba-da.
That's exactly right.